that's what the Scottish Parliament decided. Now, thankfully, Westminster knocked that in the head and said, well, we can't really do that because you can't have two processes in the United Kingdom for something as serious as that. But that's what we try to do in Scotland. And you think, well, that's pretty bonkers, right? And you would think that's one lunatic in a parliament's decided to do this and have managed to convince the majority of the parliament to agree with them. But then you take into account that the exact same things were happening in Canada and Australia and attempted to try in America and all over Europe. And you go, well, that can't be a coincidence, right? That all these parliaments scattered across the globe, all at the exact same time, decided that we should just change our sex if we want in a whim. So, you've got to consider that, yeah, there must be somebody up here going, go and do this, go and do that, go and do the next thing. And that's pretty scary. So, yeah, that's kind of what I mean. I try and remain balanced on these things, but I do always investigate both sides of the coin.
Yeah, and we've got, what is it, the Scottish branch, the Scottish Rites, is it, of the Freemasons? I've misquoted that. It must be
the Scottish Rite is a part of Freemasonry, yeah.
So I've got look, viewers are trying to get me to go back reading the funny chat, and I'm trying to keep a serious face here to report serious journalism and get some pluck the serious questions. I am still internally laughing my head off at what's still coming in. So Craig, Shaun and Craig, would you be surprised if there's any more arrests? Every couple of days they're plucking someone straight out of the Eurovision Song Contest. It's the law of averages states there's going to be more, I think, imminent inbound Ukrainian drag queen people.
Yeah. See that thing about how many whatevers does it take to change a light bulb? It's going to be how many actor stroke model stroke rent boys does it take to light a firebomb, right? And I don't know, is it 3? Is it 6? I don't know. But, I wouldn't be surprised if I thought it was 1. I genuinely thought it took one person to do whatever it was, somebody that, a tiff. But now there's at least 2 others, allegedly, because, they've not went to court yet. They've just been charged. So allegedly, it's at least 3 that it takes to light a Molotov cocktail, which is a bit random.
Well, even though these incidents were on separate nights, one person has pointed out in the chat, they've been charged with conspiracy. And the definition of conspiracy, as I know from my own case of importing disco biscuits into America, is 2 or more people coming together to plan a crime. Mm-hmm. So it seems that this gaggle of boy band members are in the same boy band if they have been charged with conspiracy.
Mm-hmm. And about that, you'll know as well as I do, unfortunately. I was protesting in a previous life against the owners of Rangers Football Club, and somebody said something nasty to one of them and got arrested. And the next day, his pal that he was standing beside got arrested. And on the 3rd day, I get invited into the police office to talk to them about my involvement. And I was laughing because I was like, conspiracy? I'll come in and talk nonsense. But I didn't realise until I came out of that thing that you're just as likely to get the same sentence as the person that carried it out if you're pulled into a conspiracy thing. So, and thankfully, I never even get charged with that. But, when you're getting charged with conspiring to, arson, that's a big thing with some pretty big tariffs. And they've not even get out in bail. They've held the ones that I've heard about so far. So, it's a serious crime, and it could potentially some serious sentencing to follow up a guilty if indeed they are guilty.
Someone just asked, where's Keir Starmer's wife in all this? I suspect, allegedly, jokingly, she may have gone back to the Rent-A-Beard shop, been replaced by a rent-a-boy.
You're brave.
Next question is, let's see. Did they come from the same acting school as Zelensky?
Well, he started as a comedian, and it certainly got some comedy value in it. But yeah, I forgot he was an actor, wasn't he? Well, he was a comedian.
He was playing the piano with his pecker, Craig. Playing the piano with his pecker.
Oh, incredible.
Yes. This is the guy Keir is sending billions of our taxpayer pounds to, wants to send our lads to die in the meat grinder to a former comedian actor who was playing the piano with his pecker and has allegedly got a habit so big for the Colombian marching powder that he's been trading weapons sent from America to the cartel in lieu of his sniffle deaths.
I think we can discount the scurrilous rumours that Zelensky has made any personal money from all these donations, because the man's only got one jumper, so he's obviously on the take. So we can don't drag us down that one, please.
All right, next serious question. Does Jim Davidson know more? Bring him on.
He's good value just now, isn't he?
He is, yeah. Bess wants to know, why did one of them not go public and tell tales? Or is it a deflection?
It could be. The whole thing could be a deflection, but then we get into conspiracies about conspiracies, you know. It's possible. It's possible, by the way, that somebody planted that profile on that acting website just so people would go and say ridiculous things and then pull it. You know, that is possible, but where do we stop going, no, let's just deal with what's in front of us, you know?
Any video footage of the fires? Did you see anything on TV of the fire, of the burning of these properties?
I saw stills, and the stills that I seen of the car on fire, and it looked as if it was from like a Ring doorbell or something. So I would imagine the videos exist somewhere, but I've only ever seen still footage of the actual fires.
Yeah, all I've seen is still footage as well of these files. Let's see. Has Britain been? I mean, this is the big question that people should be asking. I'm surprised Alex Jones and David Icke aren't all over this. Has Britain been compromised? How would these boy band guys know what to target on 3 separate nights, properties, cars, all related to Keir Starmer? There's just only 2 ways I could fathom that they would know, is if they'd visited the properties, as if they traveled in the car or seen the car outside of one of the properties, or if someone had fed them intelligence and said, here's some money, here's a Molotov, go and do this. Can you see any other possibilities outside of that, Craig?
I don't think they've been given a bung to go and, you know, smash somebody's house up or car up. I can't see that. And I know it's pretty maybe odd to say that, but they don't seem the type of people you'd pull off the street and offer 20 quid to go and, you know, set fire to a letterbox, right? So I can't see that. They're definitely not. I think it's safe to assume that they are not agents of another state. I don't think they're Blofeld that we're dealing with here, right? So it leaves the only possible thing in my mind, which I'm perfectly accepting. I could be wrong, right? That it's some sort of personal thing, something on a personal level. So is our democracy being attacked? No, it's not. But this, to me, appears to be something that's personal to our guy who's in charge right now. But that, by pure default, is an assault on our democracy, because if he's been up to something that's that crazy that these guys that may or may not be rent boys and models and whatever are so upset with him that they're setting fire to properties, then he's done something that's probably not in keeping with the role that he's actually in right now. So that's where our democracy could be affected. And you've always got concerns when you've got people of these high standings in places that, you know, the pillow talk. And that's then a danger to democracy. But the other thing where it could be a lot real, you know, deep state stuff could be these boys might be pushed forward by some people behind them with really unscrupulous desires. And that's a possibility. But I kind of think he's done something to upset them on a personal level, and that's where we're at. And that's why we're not hearing much about it.
Oh, you've just given me thoughts about a third theory from what you've just said about them getting pushed forward. What if Keir Starmer has got some kind of rival? What was it called? House of Cards. Underwood was the guy who came up with all those schemes in House of Cards, that the political machinations. What if Starmer's got some kind of rival who's come up with this scheme to just get these most bizarre individuals to commit these crimes, to create a huge scandal, to bring him down so he can be replaced by someone they've got in line to replace him?
This is fantastic. And you know, we shouldn't need to be talking about this. This void has been created, this noise has been created by the void. Because nobody else is saying anything. But one thing is for sure with every crime that's ever happened in the history of crimes, there is a motive. There's a motive for everything. Nobody just does it, and you don't firebomb 2 doors in a car by accident. There's certainly a motive. You have to prove a motive to get a guilty verdict in our judiciary system. So motive is very important. And you're like, well, what's the motive? And if it's something personal, then that's kind of scary. And I'm sort of veering towards that more than some pre-planned design by other spies or other nations, you know. But hey, we could be wrong. We shouldn't need to be having these discussions, Shaun. It's ridiculous.
It should just be all over the news, and the life histories of these people should be out there already, and the motive for the crime should rapidly be being ascertained. But it's like they don't want us to look at it. They don't want us to have these theories. They don't want us to have these thoughts. They're just trying to brush it under the carpet with minimal publicity. And what I can understand is it's only me, you, and Galloway on YouTube, as far as I'm aware, who've done any serious reporting on it.
Yeah.
Anyway, you got tons of questions coming in. We've got almost 2,000 watching live right now across all platforms. So I'll put Craig's link in the live chat again. Please subscribe to Craig's channel. He's done several videos on this subject. He was the first to bring it to YouTube. And I thought, wow, this guy's either making a fool of himself or he's onto something here. And then the next day, another arrest. The next day, boy band member on the BBC, which thus confirmed, this is a legitimate story, but no one wants to get to the bottom of it. Robert wants to know, Craig, what do you make of all these creepy flights that are going in and out of Prestwick Airport over the last few years? I don't know about that.
Prestwick Airport is used quite a lot by America. They use it a lot for troop movement. A lot of their transatlantic flights that are coming to Europe, even moving troops to go to bases in Germany and stuff, for some reason, a lot of them land in Prestwick. So Prestwick's used to having quite a weird, it's a second airport that services Glasgow, for those that don't know. It's about half an hour south of Glasgow. And it was the first airport in Scotland to be able to take transatlantic flights, but they've made a big, massive runway. So that was one of the first places jumbo jets were landing in the whole of Scotland, for example. So it's continued to have that sort of connection with a lot of transatlantic stuff. But the American military use it a lot. So there's a lot of stuff, obviously, you would maybe not find in flight trackers and stuff like that. So I would love to come up with some absolutely fantastic stories. The best flight ever to come in and land at Prestwick Airport, and backs up what I'm saying about military movement, was Elvis. When Elvis went to Germany in the army, it's the only time he's put foot on British soil. His plane landed in Prestwick. They got off, refueled, and then went and done his tour of Germany. So it's been decades old, having American flights coming in, and that's possibly what he's referring to.
So John Adamson is saying it's not rocket science. It's all connected to Ukraine, which is at war, and the trillions of dollars that get funneled into that grand money laundering scheme. Yeah, when there's that much money at stake, there's all kinds of shenanigans going on behind the scenes. Russ wants to know, is it related to the grooming gangs inquiry being dropped? I don't think so, Ross. We've had multiple survivors of those gangs on this channel. We've had Maggie Oliver on, who blew the whistle 5 years ago. She's been on again recently. With Amber, who was in the documentary The Three Girls. She did her first interview here. So that is a subject, near and dear to our hearts. But my antennae is not, resonating at the thought of it being, less Labour and the Conservatives. I think they both voted against. I know Labour voted against the inquiry into the grooming gangs, which is insane. They're enabling that apparatus. All right. Well, was anyone in any of these properties at the time? Was it Keir Starmer's? Was it his sister-in-law or something? Was it one of the properties? I think. Yeah,
I think the house. The house where he was clapping the nurses during the lockdown. I think that's the one that his sister-in-law now lives in. That he's doing some sort of peppercorn rental on, which is fair enough. It's his sister-in-law after all. I think that's the one. that she's in.
Yeah, because
that's the other mad thing. We've still got this connected property, a property connected to Keir Starmer. What does that even mean? Do you know what I mean? Just tell it. But I mean, you've got all this. They always hide behind, well, it's a live police inquiry and we don't want to scupper any court case. But using words like connected to, that's not going to affect any court case in the history of court cases. It's just ridiculous. So they're using these cute words for some reason.
So they're minimising it. And here's what the BBC said. One person had to be rescued by firefighters who were using breathing apparatus. So we got the car got on fire on the 8th of May on Kentish Town Street, where he lived before moving to Downing Street. And then on the 11th of May, there was a small fire at the front door of a house converted into flats in nearby Islington, where he lived during the 90s. And then the following day, the 12th, the London Fire Brigade was called to fire at his private home. Damage was caused to the property's entrance, but nobody was hurt. The BBC understands the property is rented to the Prime Minister's sister-in-law. So yeah, they're all.
Have you noticed, Shaun, a lot of the stories are contradictory that you're getting in the mainstream? I'll give you another example that I stumbled on. There was this thing where the second guy was Romanian, right? And I was like, right away, I don't think he is Romanian. He might not be of a Romanian heritage. But then somebody quoted in a newspaper that the second guy had a Russian interpreter at court. And I'm like, well, that would probably mean he's Ukrainian then, because I know their languages are very similar and a lot of Ukrainians use Russian as their first tongue. But why would, if you were a Romanian, would you not have a Romanian interpreter at court for you? One of the newspaper might be wrong. But you go, well, why is all this stuff contradicting each other? That doesn't tie in with that. And it's kind of all over the place.
It absolutely is all over the place. It's as if it was scripted, but the different threads that contradict each other have somehow got into various scripts. Like the correct script wasn't fully put out all at the same time. Different. They rubbed a bit out here on this script, but that script had already gone out to some other people. And here we go. So Daniel, do you know or have heard Ria Gagod on the secret second family? Met Insiders was my source, high-ranking officer that deals with sensitive subjects. Gag order. So because it's
something peculiar, mate. See, it was like the day after the election or something. And I wish I could remember who it was, because I would go and pull up the video. And they were describing Keir's family. And they said the words along the lines of, he's got an unconventional family setup or something like that. And I thought, well, what the hell does that mean? And there was suggestions that there may have been a trans person in his family. Right? That was kind of, but well, what does that even mean? And that might not be the exact words they used. I wish I could remember who it was, but it was a mainstream outlet like GB News or whatever. And they were talking to somebody that knew him, and they went, well, what's Keir's like? And they went, well, his family setup's a bit unconventional. And I was like, what? And now we're hearing all this stuff, and you've got people asking about this, is it a second family? They've heard a rumour about having an affair, and, that may have led to a pregnancy and all this stuff, but it's just potentially slanderous.
So as far as I'm aware, a D notice has not been issued on this case, and we've not received a D notice from the videos we've done. And for people in America, for people in I believe you can, yeah. For people in America, let me just explain what a D notice is. So it's officially known as a Defense and Security Media Advisory Notice. DSMA notice is a guidance given to media organizations about sensitive information that could compromise national security if published. It's a voluntary system, not legally binding, and editors can choose to publish or not based on their own assessment. The purpose of a D notice is to aim to prevent the publication of information that could endanger national security, such as revealing military operations, intelligence activities, or compromising critical structure. The mechanism, the Defense and Security Media Advisory Committee issues D notices, providing advice to editors on what not to publish. the next category is no legal standing. The D-notice system relies on voluntary compliance. It's not a law, and editors are free to decide whether to heed the advice. Next category, evolution. The D-notice system was originally called D-notices, but was officially renamed DSMA notice in 2015. Scope. Standing D-notices cover a range of topics, including military, nuclear weapons, counter-terrorism, and sensitive personnel. History. The D-notice system has a long history in the UK, with roots in concerns about the press jeopardizing military operations. Oh, here we go. The current D-notices are publicly available, and it gives a link to them. And here we go to the government website, standing notices. This is providing advice and guidance to the media about defense and security information. You've got DSMA notice 1, military operations, plans and capabilities. Notice 2, nuclear, non-nuclear weapon systems and equipment. 3, military, counter-terrorism. Well, counter-terrorism cops are involved in this one, so it does look like there's some overlap. I'll read this one in more detail. Military, counter-terrorism forces, special forces and intelligence agency operations, activities and communication methods and techniques. This notice aims to prevent the inadvertent disclosure of classified information about special forces, cyber and other units engaged in security, intelligence and counter-terrorism operations, including their methods, techniques and activities, security and intelligence agency operations, methods, techniques and activities, and communications methods, techniques and activities, encryption capabilities, techniques and activities, and data protection measures. And then you've got category 4, physical property and assets, sensitive UK and NATO installations of critical importance to the security of the UK and its international partners. And then you've got personnel and their families who work in sensitive positions. Wasn't the Prime Minister in a sensitive position? So perhaps D Notice 5 would apply to him. This aims to prevent the inadvertent disclosure of sensitive personal information, SPI, that reveals the identity, location, or contact details of personnel and their family members who have security, intelligence, and/or counter-terrorist duties and/or backgrounds, including members of the UK security and intelligence agencies, MOD, special forces, and operational cyber units. So, you know, looking at those, do you believe, Craig, that there is some overlap there with what's just happened?
Yeah, I think if you're the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom and you want to serve a D notice on anything about any story connected to you, you could probably pull that off. And then when you factor in his legal background and knowledge and connections, then probably easier for him than any predecessors in the role.
Yeah, definitely. Sarah wants to know, Craig, do you think if it comes out about Starmer's alleged personal connections to rent boys that he will be forced to resign?
We're in 2025. We're a different era from the scandals of the 60s. But I don't know. You would like to think so. And folks are, well, why is that? That means that it's down to somebody's sexual preferences. But you've got to be very careful when you are the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom and who you have any sort of relationships, never mind sexual relationships with. And I would suggest having potentially scurrilous accusation or not sexual relationships with young men who are of foreign bodies. Then, yeah, that's kind of dangerous. That can't be allowed. But we live in 2025. And I made this claim with the Southport thing, that after a few days of Southport being a bit mental, right, and people going, well, what's going on here, and try to fill the dots, join the dots. There were some people saying, well, when it gets to court, all the truth will come out. And I said then, no, it won't. Well, this won't reach court. This will not reach court because you're right. There'll be details of other things that could come out as a defence or, possibly the prosecution that other people might not want to be made public. And I see this case identical. I think this case getting to a trial and jury, I can't see that happening because it will not be in the public's interest, we'll be told. And I would be shocked and stunned. I would be willing to put good money at William Hill's that this will not go to a full trial, because it could be damning. But you would then need to, the prosecution need to prove motive, and that could be pretty smelly. So no, I think that's where this will head. This will either, I think again it would be difficult at this time with the amount of public awareness to have no trial, and certainly 2 men already appeared at court for sort of pre-trial hearings would suggest that's where it's going. But I'd be shocked and stunned if this got to a full trial without somebody just taking the heat for it and taking a guilty plea.
Yeah, the fact that these properties were hit suggests perhaps that because we got this theory that maybe somebody has put these guys up to it to bring Starmer down, then what I'm thinking is they knew it would be forced into the public by lighting these properties, because emergency crews would have to be called right away to put the fires out, and it would be documented right away in the local media. So they didn't have a chance to suppress it right away as soon as it happened. They were forced to let the public, see some of the story, but kind of suppress the bigger picture. And one of the things Linda's asking here is, how did they find these 3 boys so quickly? And we don't know that information, do we? I would imagine these days it's all through the internet, the devices, isn't it? Tracking them through devices.
Yeah, you would think that area, it's a heavily populated area. I know, at least the house, where it is. I've been there myself. I've been in that area. I worked in London for a while. I actually worked in Sydenham, which is where one of the accused is apparently living. And it's a heavy populated area. I know the advent of these Ring doorbells, almost every 100 yards you would have one of those. So I wouldn't have thought anybody committing any crime round about that area is going to be that difficult to track down, to be honest with you. And you've got CCTV. That reminds me, I done a video 6 months ago, and Russell Brand ended up talking about it in his show, where there was some attack on Westminster Bridge, and I wanted a backdrop for my thumbnail. I thought, well, I'll just go into CCTV, because I've got them everywhere. Webcams everywhere across every big city, and I'll get one that's shooting across Westminster with Parliament in the background. And every single webcam in London was off air, and that was really peculiar. And as I say, Russell Brand started talking about that in one of his podcasts, and my video went a wee bit viral. I got a couple hundred, which is a lot for me, a couple 100,000. So these weird things have happened with webcams. But yeah, I kind of think if you want to find a bad person, there'll be loads of footage about somewhere.
Yeah, so it's just come out in the Times and a few other places as well about Petro, the third man's name. Petro Pochinok. Petro Pochinok. So the third Ukrainian charged in the arson conspiracy into the Starmer-linked properties has been named Petro Pochinok, 34, has been charged with conspiring with Roman and Stanislav and others. So there are more coming. Others unknown. They're being called presently. Others unknown. To damage by fire property belonging to another, intending to damage the property, intending to endanger the life of another, or being reckless as to whether the life of another would be thereby endangered. Pochinok was arrested on Monday in the Chelsea area on suspicion of to commit arson with intent to endanger life. Shortly before 10 a.m. on Wednesday, that's today, he was driven to Westminster's Magistrates Court in an unmarked police van under police escort. So that's just happened, I guess. The 34-year-old appeared in the glass-fronted dock in court number 2 at Westminster Magistrate wearing an Alvin Stardust, I'm just joking, wearing a grey prison-issue tracksuit with his hair blow-dried like Gary. joking, folks. Speaking through an interpreter, he spoke only to confirm his name, address, and date of birth. As part of the same investigation, Roman is charged with 3 counts. He appeared on May 16th. Stanislav has been charged. He appeared on Tuesday at the Old Bailey. And the trio's charges all relate to a series of fires at the properties linked to Keir Starmer between mid-April and early May this year. Wow.
See the Pockenock bit, Shaun. I know we spoke about it off air. I don't think we spoke about it since we hit live. I went and Googled. I think I found him. I think I found him on LinkedIn, right? But and then I was like, Pockenock, where's that name come from? So I put in the meaning or the origins of Pockenock, right? And I found out, and I'm going to read verbatim, the surname came from the nickname Pockenock. In the Ukrainian language, Pockenock means yarn wound round a spindle. And you go, well, we say spinning a yarn, right? And you think, is this whole thing made up? Is this somebody's total best bam up, piss take, whatever it is you want to call it? When the guy that's just been charged, his name loosely translates to spinning a yarn. And you're like, it's Austin Powers, mate. We're living in an Austin Powers script.
This is what we're saying. They're just doing it in our faces now. Just absolute taking the piss. It's like,
yeah, it's bonkers.
Just when you think it can't get any weirder, it just gets weirder and weirder. Pockenock.
Aye, spinning a yarn or a yarn round a spin. You're like, I don't know, man. I recognise that phrase, right? Oh, I don't know, man. Honestly, see if the fourth one comes in the silver platform boots singing, come on, I'm out. I'm retiring.
So, someone said that Katie Hopkins is reporting on this now. Good for Katie. We're trying to get Katie on later in the year. She went on my friend Andrew Gold's channel, and we are in talks with her. And but people have, seen echoes of the Profumo scandal. I'll just read what happened with the Profumo scandal. This was a major political crisis in 1963, centered on John Profumo, the Secretary of State for War. He had an affair with the model Christine Keir. The scandal erupted when Keir was also involved with Yevgeny Ivanov, a Soviet naval attaché, raising concerns about national security. Keir was also involved. So in the House of Commons, Profumo initially denied any improper conduct, but later admitted having lied. The scandal led to Profumo's resignation from the Conservative government of Harold Macmillan. The affair severely damaged the reputation of the Conservative government, which was already facing other challenges. And then Stephen Ward, a socialite who introduced Keir to Profumo, was arrested and charged with living off ladies of the night and procuring. His trial was later viewed as a miscarriage of justice. Wow. What do you make of that?
Yeah, and what you've got, the difference with this possible case, because at the end of the day, they might have fell out over a window cleaning bill or something, right? It might not be sexual, right? Anyway, let's consider it as for a second. With the Profumo case, there was 3 parties involved because, and the link was the model to the current high-ranking government official to a foreign state. Well, every single person arrested here is from a foreign state, so it's potentially even more concerning that the Profumo affair needed that middle person to squeal. But if this one, and as other people, naughty bad people out there are alleging there might be a connection, a sexual connection. In this case, then you don't need that middle person. You're straight to a foreign agent is probably the nicest way of doing it.
Hey, Jody in the chat. The Nino video that was taken down, it's coming after this. I've got it scheduled for 1:15 p.m. So I went on a big channel last night exposing the network, the video that's coming at 1:15. It's called the Diddy Clinton Savile Network, and how they swallowed Justin Bieber's soul. It was taken down rapidly, but it's coming at 1:15. So stay tuned for that. And we've got a question from Hazel, and we've got almost 2,500 watching now across all platforms. Please subscribe to Craig. Link in the live chat again. There you go for his channel. Hazel's got a good question here because it was you, Craig, who put Lord Ali on my radar with one of your first videos.
Yeah, again, that was just something. Sorry.
I'll read this question from Hazel. Do you think it might be possible, hypothetically, if these young men were seen going to and from Lord Ali's property during lockdown, may have been someone other than Starmer's son? What's the connection with Lord? Let's go with the connection with Lord Ali.
Yeah, that started, and it was a rumour, and I was quite open with that when I was talking about it. I said, look, this is a rumour that might be a wild rumour, it might not be, but there's been a suggestion made that this connected property, Starmer, might be owned by Ali. So that was kind of it, right? But somebody came into my video today when we were talking about this new guy who buys, sells, and hires out posh clothes, said, and I'm not thinking this is possible, it was just humorous, the suggestion that these guys, the third guy, the 34-year-old that's into selling and renting out posh clothes, might be the guy that got the clothes for Ali to give to Starmer. And I thought, well, that would be really funny. I don't think that's true, but yeah, and Lord Ali, who is, and you know, to 2025, is a homosexual. But the odd thing about Ali was Ali won. This is a guy nobody'd heard of, by the way, until Keir Starmer became the Prime Minister. And he was voted by Stonewall organisation as the politician of the decade, nonetheless. So what he's done behind the scenes for an organisation that's not really bothered about gay rights anymore, because they got that all sorted, and well done for doing so. But now that their current driver is trans issues, that they would suddenly vote this guy, Lord Ali, as the politician of the decade. So he must have done quite a lot for their causes, or he wouldn't have got such an accolade. So I think any connections to him with this case would be outrageous.
So if you've just tuned in, folks, and something's just happened because 1,000 people just got knocked off the stream. Something weird's going on with this one now. If you've just tuned in, we are with Craig, who broke the news on YouTube about these suspicious characters allegedly attacking the Prime Minister's properties. And we thought we were going to be made fools of. But as you can see on the screen now, that is the picture of the second alleged attacker. That is the picture of him. This is the BBC, folks. This isn't us just putting this up there and having a laugh. This is the BBC now. And we are waiting for the picture of the third alleged attacker. And there are supposedly more unnamed attackers pending. So that's what we've been talking about so far. Now, we did have a few other subjects we were going to touch on. And if you want to see the latest reporting, please go to Craig's channel. I'm going to put the link in the live chat again. There it is. If you've got bumped off my stream, just refresh your screen, press my channel icon.